dun, 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 dun,
You need to do like a.
dun, 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 dun. Hi,
You need
Simon.
to do like a what would you call it? Like a
I
heavy
don't
metal
know.
like tune
Oh
it
yeah,
up.
right. Well, it has it can be varied to that. You're right. It isn't actually inherently heavy metal, but it sort of sounds heavy metal to me sometimes when I'm hearing it in the opening. Yeah. So yeah,
Welcome,
Scott's not
welcome.
here. I'm Scott for today. So that's why you see me right at the beginning, and I get to do my da 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 part, which I always appreciate. It's kind of fun because otherwise I don't come on until later in the show, and then I don't get to do that. So it's fun.
Well, we're going to drive straight into it. So we're running a
Sure.
bit late today. So let's drive straight in. Here, Randall, your
Yeah,
turn
I
now.
get to do this. So, since I'm virtual Scott, I get to read the rules. Everybody be nice. Just be nice. And don't post anything if it's adult. Don't promote anything. If your face isn't on the screen, you don't get to promote stuff. But our faces are on the screen, so we can drop an occasional hit about stuff. Um, don't spam. Don't post the same thing again and again. In particular, don't spam your questions. If you ask your question, you end up in our queue. And if you ask exactly the same question again, we're going to take you out of the beginning of the queue and put you at the end of the queue. Oh, you've lost your place. Don't do that. That's just silly. So once you've asked it and it has a queue in front of it, we notice it and we will put it in our queue. So you don't have to worry about that. You just know that we have these. And occasionally I will announce how many people are still in the queue so you can kind of get a sense that you're 13th in line. So it might take a little while, that kind of stuff. So be watchful of that. No harassment tolerated here. We do have band hammers. We do use them. But do have a good time. I mean, we're having a good time. That's the reason we keep coming back. And maybe because none of us have anything to do on a Wednesday. I don't know. But we're here.
Definitely have a good time.
Helping people out with a good time. Yes, exactly. I do this all the time, and I might as well do it another couple hours a week, but here on live on a stream. So it's cool.
So we'll do some brief introductions. My name's Simon Lightfoot, Flutter Community Leader, CTO at Dev Angels London. You can follow me on Twitter at Dev Angels London. And Scott can't be with us, but Randall's here. Randall, introduce yourself.
Yes, so I'm a Dart and Flutter Google developer expert. That's one of 10 in the United States. I've been in the program for 6 years now, and what that basically means is I'm kind of a liaison between Google headquarters down in Mountain View and y'all. And so I spend a lot of time on Discord, Reddit, Stack Overflow, Slack, and anywhere else I see Flutter questions. I try to answer those, and or I try to point people at resources so that they can solve it for themselves. And I really enjoy doing that. Strictly volunteer basis. I'm not paid by Google for this. In fact, none of the people on this call are paid by Google. Keep that in mind. This is a volunteer show. And I also, for this show, I am the question magician, which means that I am watching the chat for those chat marks that have Q colon in front of them. That's the way we know it's to us, to the panel, and not just amongst yourselves. Because sometimes you guys are talking, chatting amongst each other and actually answering each other's questions, which is great because then we don't have to do that. So that's really kind of fun. Well, it gives us different viewpoints too. That's kind of fun. Anything else? Yeah, I'm also a full-time Dart and Flutter programmer between gigs right now. So if anybody's out there looking for an expert, chat with me. All right.
I'm knocking.
Yep.
We also have a John. John, welcome to the stage. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hey guys, how's it going?
Good.
So, yeah, good. Yeah, so I am been in the community for a while. I manage the Flutter community medium and like Randall, hang out in a few different places, answering questions for folks and doing Flutter in my spare time, basically for, I don't know, it's been a long time in my spare time.
Forever.
Yeah, almost 8 years, something like that, 7 years. So yeah.
So you were playing with Flutter. You were playing with Flutter back when it was 1.0?
Before, yeah, even before that. I think even before late 2017-ish, somewhere in there. So I think when
back when Dart wasn't soundly typed.
Oof. Yeah, exactly.
I know, right?
The primitive days, the ancient days when you studied
way back when we were still on that Gitter thing.
So, Gitter, yeah. And had to use Dartium.
Mhm.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm just dating myself. No, I'm carbon dating myself. All right.
Yeah.
And we have another guest,
We do.
Raph. Welcome to the stage.
Hello, so I'm Raf. I'm doing some Flutter community stuff. I like Flutter, and I'm having fun here. So yeah.
Cool.
So, those that don't know, we do actually have a event coming up very soon. That's next week. That's FlutterCon USA, and we actually have some tickets available. I'm going to see if I can bring up the code on the screen here. Bear with me, and we'll share a link, and you can get discount if you last-minute tickets. It's like lastminute.com for nerds. Right. Where are we? See if this works. Oh, now it wants to process things. All right, I'll bring it up in a minute. Once it decides to work. How's that?
And about that conference, I got an invitation to the speaker dinner for that. Two reasons that that's not going to work. One, I'm not a speaker for that, although apparently they think just being a GE is close enough, I guess. The other is that it's in Astoria, but the wrong Astoria. It's in Astoria, New York, not Astoria, Oregon, which I could actually drive.
Right, that'll do it.
So it's like I get this headline, speaker dinner in Astoria, and I go, "Oh, cool! Astoria, I can get there. It's only a 2-hour drive, and it's a nice drive to Columbia."
Sorry,
So
Randall.
okay. Oh well, next year can come.
Well, that as it said here, you can get your tickets now. FlutterConUSA.dev, 25% of tickets with FT Community 25, and that's also in the chat if you want to, and links to purchase tickets. So just want to put it in there. Last chance to get them.
Yeah.
So there we go. How's everyone doing? It's been a week. How's everyone's week been?
Has it been a week? It's only been 165 hours.
Apparently, that's
It is
a week.
1 week. Yeah. What have you been up to? Anything fun, interesting? Coding up a story.
You mentioned null safety. I have a very old app that needs some updates that I've been dealing with null safety migration this week. So that's been painful.
Do you have a 219, whatever the last one was before they got rid of the
Yeah, it was actually on 217, I think is what it has been sitting on, just because I haven't had time to port it.
Well, no, I meant the right Flutter installation.
Yes, yeah.
The one before where Dart 3 was inserted.
Yeah, 219.2 I think was the last one.
Yeah,
with
right.
Tooling.
Cool.
So that helps, but then it's fixing all the little things after that once it migrates all the code.
Yeah, because it only gets like 3/4 the way typically.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. So that's been the last few days
Wow.
of my nights.
I've been yelling at occasional people on the various. I've gotten in trouble in a couple of discussions now, so I've got to dial it back a little bit. I can always tell when I've been helping too much because I don't totally understand this. As a helper all these years, I should probably understand it, but eventually you run out of helper points. And the next one that comes along is like, just do this. So if you ever see one of us answer a little roughly, maybe we just ran out of helper points that day.
I try occasionally. I have somebody pop in and say, "Boy, you're just like you spend, and you're too nice. You're taking way too long with these people to get their question answered for them." It's like, yeah, I try. I will get to that point though every once in a while.
I do want to say the biggest observation I've taken away from this past week is most people are not familiar with most of the layout widgets.
Yep.
There are some really cool ones in there. Before the show, I mentioned to us like a fractionally sized box. And from Simon, from watching you all these times use aspect ratio, that's just one of my first go-tos now as well. Are there other ones like that you'd like to mention, Simon?
Here's the problem: is I just reach for them. I don't think about them, and now you've just said it. It's all just dropped off out my mind. All of the widgets.
Right.
Unconstrained box is also
Unconstrained box.
underutilized.
Okay.
Also underutilized. So when you've got like when you only want to constrain, let's say a good example, if you want to center something but only to one axis and not to push out the other axis, because by default center wants to fill its contained space and center the widget, right? But you only want to fill on one axis and be, intrinsic width on width or height. That's where unconstrained box comes in, because it's constrained just to, you can say constrained to one axis and then a line in the other axis.
Yeah.
So you kind of get both. It's quite nice.
Wow.
Interesting.
Another one I really like is size box expand. It's kind of like the top level for all my bodies now.
Yeah.
It's basically I want my body, after you get rid of the nav bar on the bottom and the app bar on the top, I want all the rest of it to be my workspace. And I want it to be the maximum size of that.
It still pees me off the way that was changed. What was it? Was because originally body would expand, right? And then it got changed. And then it just screwed up every layout. Suddenly columns were like this. And it's like, at what point did you ever want that? Because you can't align a shrunken widget in any place. So it's like,
yeah.
I don't know. It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
There must have been reasons. The same happened with app bar. App bar has some other weird behavior with the way the title widget works now. I actually raised an issue on that. They said no. I can't remember what it was, but I remember getting denied. We could, I guess we could fit around with some layouts, right? Like, so something that I was looking into that I did before, which was kind of interesting, is how you can put aspect ratios, sub aspect ratios to achieve a particular number of units in measurement. So for example, if you want like 3.5 widgets always across the screen, no matter what the outside dimensions are, if it's the screen squeeze up, you can always guarantee 3.5. You can actually do that with aspect ratios, which is most people just go, wait, what? Because if you know the aspect of what's inside, then you can guarantee the aspect of what's on the outside. Yeah, so we could show some other stuff.
I have visions after Simon was talking there of, like, most people fall asleep counting sheep. That I see visions of like widgets flying over and one after another.
Yeah.
Maybe I should do like a ASMR video just saying widget names so that people can fall asleep to it.
There you go. Just reading the widget names into the microphone.
Some channel made a list of all Flutter widgets, like 120 or something.
The problem is when they change them, they're like, redo it.
True. True.
Yeah, it'd be like widget X, formerly widget Y. You just have to keep like editing the script over and over.
Hey Simon, what do you know about unique widget?
Unique widget.
I don't think
unique widget.
Yes.
Is they just wrap a unique key?
Check it out.
This is where I go there, and it doesn't exist.
No, it does.
It's definitely the Flutter SDK right now.
Such widgets must be given a global key. This key can be generated with a subclass of type object.
It was invented pre 1.0 and never spoken of again.
Is this going to be like used
anywhere?
No, it does say it creates one widget that has exactly one inflated instance in the tree. It's interesting because that's basically what basically all this is doing is forcing you to use a global key. Right. That's it. That's all it does. Forces a stateful widget to use a global key, and that's it.
I stumbled across someone who had actually filed a PR to just remove it, And they said, but we have to go through the deprecated cycle. And I said, show me one use anywhere in any code in any part of any library that uses it.
Mm.
So yes, there is actually a useless widget in the layout system.
They should rename it to useless widget.
Useless
See
widget.
see how many people use it.
Useless
Yeah.
unique widget.
Do you know what the problem?
Yeah.
The problem here is if
Yeah.
you did that, then people start using it.
Right.
Yeah, then you couldn't take it out. Yeah, you would have to go through the deprecation process.
Yep. Anyway, so that's my weirdest thing that I observed for the week was unique widget, and then I went, "What is this doing? And when would you use it?" And the problem is it's a widget that exposes a prop via the key, which nobody else does.
Well, you do it, but you do it like in your own code, right? Like there's no
Right. Yeah. You don't have it expose the prop. So it's really weird. Yeah. Anyway, enough on that. We've got a few questions in the queue, but not enough yet. So please get your questions in. The earlier you get your question in, the earlier we will answer it and even have a chance at answering it. Because sometimes we get so close to the end that we have to bail on some of the last. No, actually, I think we've always just pressed forward and answered everything we've taken. So
we tried to.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's a couple of things that come up. It's like this is not going to be something we can answer in the amount of time we've got.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we carried over a couple from last week, even, huh? So
Apparently, unless those aren't actually real.
I think the first two were from carryovers from last week.
No,
in your starred list. At least I'm still seeing them.
Oh, yeah, me too. How do I?
Which two? I don't know where you're seeing them because
I'm looking in the starred list and the first two that say they're showing today's like dates, but they're not actually
who
in the live feed.
Give me a name. Give me the names.
Ria
and Train of Thought.
Oh well, I don't have them on my screen, so can you bring them up? I wonder if it pops up.
Oh, it's a glitch in the matrix.
Yeah.
What happens if you click on it? Does it actually pop up?
Oh.
Well, I can't because I'm not there.
Yeah.
There you go.
There.
Look.
I don't have those. I don't have those magic keys.
They're not. They don't. They're actually from last week, and they're not on my list.
Yeah, that one and the next one are both from last week. Yeah.
So
I don't see them on my list, so that's interesting.
And
you started the next one from
I think you actually did this. I think you did.
So we didn't get to do this code snippet. We could actually do. I've got actually recorded on my list here to do today. I've actually got both of these on my list here, my local list to look at today. So you can untick those.
Yeah. We could actually start just taking the questions, and people hopefully will have more questions by the time we get down. Okay. So here's the first question today, which is Paco asks, Saint Paco?
Yeah.
Something like
Saint
that.
Paco, yeah.
Paco SD. That sounds like a version of the Atari ST. No, never mind. How can we use macros to generate a list widget based on individual files in a directory? I don't think it knows how to do that. It can't take multiple files and make a single file. I think it only edits within a file. Isn't that right, macros?
How can we use macros to generate a list of widget based on individual files in a directory? Would it be better to stick to build runner? Do you know what? I haven't even tried macros yet, so I don't know.
Maybe, but macros still pretty early.
The way macros are supposed to work is that you should be able to do that. So you can look at files in a directory. There's no reason why you can't write Dart code to do that. I just think you need to use directory.watch, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm sorry, Paco. To add with this, you figure it out and let us know. Come on the screen and let us know.
Really?
Take us through how macros work to build this. That would be perfect. Yeah. Stream content.
You can be a guest on a future show if you figure out how macros work. That's a standing offer to anybody. Salim asks, can Flutter widgets replace HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and work efficiently for building web apps at this stage? Ignore SEO. I'll go one better than that. I will tell you that Jasper does all of that, and SEO works on Jasper.
Yep.
And just announced on tomorrow's Observable Flutter The Jasper dude is going on and chatting with Greg. So just
And
tomorrow. Yeah. So
those that
watch
don't
right
know
after.
what we're talking about, this is the package. It's Jasper,
Yep.
Jaspr. Check it out.
Right.
There's a great, there's a great like little thing in there.
We've had
Yeah,
a few
so catch that
references.
tomorrow. What is it? They usually post those around what about 9 Pacific?
It's live at
About
9
the same
Pacific.
time.
Yeah,
Or
it's
live at 9 Pacific. Okay.
Yeah, they're live from 9 to about 10:30 to 11.
So about the same time as this, same time as we are on. That's when they'll be on.
Except it's not 9 to 1.
Well, they won't be on as long as we are. Oh,
Yeah.
look at that.
Jasper dude is here.
The Jasper dude that's going to be on tomorrow is here.
Nice.
Hey, Jasper. Hey, Jasper.
Right.
Hey, Killian. All right.
Killian,
You can come on the
wanna
show,
pitch
Killian,
the
if you
show
want
back?
to.
Yeah, come on
anytime.
today's show. Why not? You can help promote. Yeah.
You might not want to give away everything he's going to talk about with Craig tomorrow.
Well, he could tease it though. I mean,
yeah,
if you say it exactly right, I even have a way you won't believe this. I can now with Jasper do something so incredible that I can't talk about it yet.
You have to come tomorrow and find out.
Yeah.
Wait
So
until tomorrow.
just a matter of selling. Just a matter of selling. That's all. Oh man, the caffeine has not kicked in yet.
All right. Well,
Apparently,
the
or
next
maybe
one,
too much of it.
the next one's an easy one.
Next one's an easy one, right?
Yeah.
Conference
Yes,
view.
they will be recorded.
Some talks be recorded. I think all of them are, right?
All of them. Yeah, we usually record all of them, right? I mean, we just saw the FlutterCon Europe talks go up, right?
Yeah. So the FlutterCon Europe talks are going up now.
And Flutter and
think
Friends
they're all
went up
done.
too.
I think they're all done. And the Flutter and Friends ones, the stream's up and running.
Yep.
That's time coded, so you can watch that.
Yeah.
And FlutterCon USA, they'll all be recorded. They will be uploaded. The same as FlutterCon Europe. It just does take time, right? So if there's a particular entry in the agenda you're looking for, you can watch it online. But you know what? Be there in person, clap in the audience. That's what we want to see.
25% off. Use the code.
25% off. So use the code in the chat. There you go. Right.
Oh, and this is the reason the Jasper guy can't come on today. You know, it's funny because I've been watching leading up to Thursday. I've been watching commit after commit after commit on your repo. So I know you're like scrambling to get the features in.
Frantically typing.
You know, nothing hones your ability to get something done than making a deadline for it that's promised to other people. Nothing focuses you more than that.
We see it. We all do it with our slides for shows, right?
Oh my
We're
God, yeah.
still working on them right up to the deadline usually, which is the moment you get on stage.
I try to have at least the time for a final rehearsal.
I see
at least
people like doing rehearsals. Like if you've got a two-person thing as well, it's different, right? Because then you've got to work together and like practicing and stuff. But yeah, it can be interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, anyway, I've got one here. I've got one here for John.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I answered in the chat. I'm assuming they're talking about these up here. Oh, it's backwards, so I gotta go like that and there. Yeah, so those are my anniversary awards for my work here at Microsoft. So it's 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25.
Sorry.
So
I just had a thought, it's the anniversary of you stuck with us. Thanks very much.
Or made it through.
Made it through, yeah. You made it through with insanity left, yes.
Thank you for continuing to drink our Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Let's see. Next one here would be this, which is how to hide a variable or key, like a Google Maps API key used in the index, from being inspected in Flutter Web. You don't need to.
Nope.
Right.
What you need to do is lock down your keys to just your domain name. That's what you need to do.
Yep.
So the requests that have been sent from your domain will be sent with cross-site cross request headers, and Google will respond to those will respect those domain headers along with the API key to validate that the key is only linked to your domain. So you go into Google Cloud Platform. You go to API credentials. There's a section there. You can just type it in the search, and then you can find that same API key that matches. Once you've found it, you can say lockdown. You put the domains in. It has to be the schema, the domain, and potentially the port. And what you can do is, if you're debugging locally, you still want to use that key. Add like localhost colon 6000 or whatever port number is, and then when you're running your Flutter command, you can do --web-port and a port number, and that will make sure that always Flutter launches with that same port so that way it will match what's expected by the key. Alternatively, you can make two keys and have one for development, one for your release, and then you would have to work on how you alter that file. If you're pushing the HTML, alter that file before building. But you can do that. There you go.
Yeah.
The point here is, you don't hide them, right? Like this is one of those things, right? API keys can be abused if they're not locked down. You should be locking down your API keys to like just the APIs that they should be used for, just the platform that you're using it on, and everything else. And then you should rotate your API keys. That is, throw away old ones, generate new ones every so often to make sure that if anyone does get hold of them and is able to hack around, they're not using them. But at the end of the day, you're shipping them to the client so they can call a third-party API on your behalf. So it's going to happen.
Now, we've had our first occurrence of this only a half hour into the show. Elian, you were next, but you asked exactly the same question later, so you're now later in the queue. Don't do that. If you've asked the question, we have it recorded. If you ask it again, you get bumped down. That's just that simple. Don't ask the same thing twice. So, Ellen, we'll get to you in probably about 10 minutes, but now you lost your slot. All right, so we got this one here. Alex Price, is it true that wrapping an inkwell inside a material is bad for performance? What?
It's the only way to make an inkwell work.
So it's good if you want the result.
So you talk about wrapping. Obviously, Alex, we'll be a bit facetious here. You don't want to always wrap an inkwell with a piece of material. I mean, that defeats the purpose of the whole point. The whole point is the inkwell paints its splash and everything onto the parent material somewhere in the hierarchy that's behind that widget. And so it's up to you to choose at what level you want to do that. So, for example, if you want all your ink and painting effects to be part of, let's say, a card, then your card would be the piece of material, and everything on top of that, you could have like 10 buttons, all inkwells, and they would all be splashes onto that card, and then they would end up getting cropped out by the edges of the card. That'd be nice. Yeah, pick and choose, but yeah, too many materials is bad for performance because each one adds a physical, what's called a physical shape. And a physical shape is a layer in the composition hierarchy, and that's what adds up to performance. That's one of the reasons why repaint boundary is expensive as well. They're way more expensive, but that's part of the reason.
All right, moving on. And here's finally Alien's question. Actually, it wasn't too bad. So you lost like 4 minutes for reposting this, but still, don't do that. Don't do that. You could really lose lots of positions if we had a lot more questions. Thoughts on offline first approach in Flutter? Packages to have in mind or your previous experiences? Rafael, is this why you pasted the URL in the chat?
Yes, I pasted the URL for Android documentation. They have exact... they have an article for exact this topic.
You want to grab
That's
that?
That's posted in the live chat. There you go.
Yeah. There we go. Yep.
I mean, offline first is just a way of building your app and thinking about how that you work, right? So that like your app can be opened and you don't have to be online to actually just open your app, for example.
Yep.
And that's great. There is obviously implications to offline first. I think that there's quite a lot to talk about in the subject. What was the question? Where was it? That's the question.
Oh, it was just
what
like packages
and
things to think. Yeah, previous
some
experience.
data storage, I guess, like
Any of this, so ISAR,
ISAR, yeah.
would be a good
ISAR.
package to look at.
There's also
Local
tools like PowerSync to be able to work offline and then have it sync up with a PG database when you're online.
I was going to say the package that I would suggest over this is CITD sync. Let me see if I can bring this up.
CITD.
In fact, I'll post a link and then share. It's the first one that comes to mind. So this is stands for conflict-free replication data types. It's a way of resolving conflicts when syncing data. And what's really nice is this package here is like the interface, and there's several implementations. And what's kind of nice about this is that you can be using like Postgres CITD on the server side and like Hive on the client side, and then you've kind of got like an all-around syncing mechanism that's set up, right? And you can use SQLite or whatever else. I'd probably set one up for ISA. I don't know if there's one for ISA, but you could just implement the interface for ISA and use that on the client side with Postgres maybe on the server. But again, this is about you implementing a server side to this, right? So again, it depends on what you're trying to do in terms of offline first. I'll pop it in the chat for anyone that's interested.
To motivate CRDT, it's sort of the technology that would be behind something like a Google Doc where 5 people are editing at once. And you have to somehow resolve what's the resulting document based on all of those changes. And
I'll be right back.
It uses a protocol that figures out how to timestamp things, even if the time settings on different machines are different. It still has a way of representing, well, not immutable. What is it when it can be applied in any order? Anyway, so it figures out ways to order the mutations on every machine so that you still end up with the right result, which is pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah.
And so CRDT is the general technology. Luckily, we have implementations in Dart in the pub, which I only discovered recently, actually. So I'm pretty excited by it. Now I want to write an app that needs that. So, your phone and my phone chatting somehow and synchronizing using these technologies. Because, what was that? John, do you remember Etherpad? Where multiple people could all type on the same screen? It was like 20 years ago.
Wow,
Maybe you
no.
don't
Huh.
So that's the first time I saw something like that in action. And so when we were in conferences, we would get on IRC, that also dates us, and we would say the Etherpad for this is at this URL. And then everybody that was in the room for that particular talk could all chat back and forth on a collective document that they're all editing. And it was really a nice change, a nice slick change. But I kept wondering, how does it resolve? Like if I change A to B and you change A to C, how does it resolve whether it ends up being B or C? And there are actually rules related to timestamps that allow it to apply in a proper order.
And Etherpad is still going strong.
Is it still there?
Etherpad.org.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah. So that's Google Docs on the cheap. Doesn't do anything near what Google Docs does now, but that's the core technology behind stuff like this.
Yeah.
That there's some synchronization protocol that is taking multiple streams of changes from multiple sources and somehow resolving it so everybody still ends up with the same thing without just transmitting the whole updated document down to everybody, which would be incredibly expensive.
Yep.
So very, very cool stuff. We live in a cool era. I suppose Simon's not back yet. I could try to see if there's anything I can answer on the next one. Oh, I can do that. So the next question is kind of a
two-parter.
Okay, so part 0. You numbered them with 0-based numbering. That's interesting. Or maybe you only thought of this later. All right. So while handling the state management with inherited widget to update the parent, I've often seen broadcasting a stream controller, and my question is how to decide which approach is better than one amongst the other, amongst change notifier, value notifier, stream. I don't like introducing streams. I think streams are clumsy in Dart. So if I have a stream, I try to get it into something else as quickly as I can. which is typically I wrap a stream provider around it in RiverPod. So now all of a sudden I've got provider listenable instead of a stupid stream protocol. And change notifier requires that you make sure that you mark all of your mutations manually, because change notifier doesn't know that its state has changed, doesn't know that its variables have changed. You have to absolutely tell your listeners, I've now
Notify listeners.
Notify listeners,
yeah. Value notifier, at least when the value changes. Is that identity or equals? I forget what for the two it is. Does you use identity? Or do you say equals? That's always the question when people say same. What does same mean in a particular context?
Yeah.
I struggle remembering that because it doesn't seem to. It seems to be at the whimsy of the developer. And I'm sure they have reasons why they would say identity or equals. For those who don't quite understand what I'm ranting about, this is a good learning point. If you have the same object, that means it is identical. It is. If A double equals B and we haven't overridden double equals, then those have to be the same object or the same primitive, because like 3 does double equal 3. But that's only
its value. It uses the equality operator to determine if it's changed.
Right. But when you have something that's deeper, like a list or an object or whatever, double equals only says, are these two things the same object? Well, they could be the same, two different objects that have the same contents. And the way to do that is you override double equals and hash code in a particular way, so that now we're checking on equals rather than identity. And I don't remember, Simon will answer this instantly. Value identity or equals?
For what? Sorry, what have I missed?
It's
value
identity.
Value notifier, is it identity or equals?
It's right in the docs.
Oh, it's
only notifies listeners when the value's identity changes.
So it's identity. What?
I believe it's equals, actually.
Well, it says it uses the equality operator, but it says the limitation is because it only notifies listeners when the value's identity changes. They will not be notified when mutable state within the value itself changes.
Yeah, but that's the wrong terminology. It is using the equals operator to do that identity check. Yeah. It just means things like list, right? Like you can mutate the contents of a list, and that won't cause the notified to change.
Right.
It's when the value property is changed.
See, now I've just completely opened up all sorts of cans of worms related to that. Actually, there's a P2 down here. Let me pick this up because it actually sort of follows up to our question. Is equal more expensive than identity? Yes. Which is why many developers first choose identity. Like I know, for example, in RiverPod, it's an identity check by default, but you can make it an equals check, and you can then override your equals for your state and really get whatever you want. But it starts as identity, and because it's the cheapest.
So identity you can't. So to be clear about what we mean. So when an object's created inside of the Dart runtime, it's given a unique ID. That's its hash code, right? And that is like a unique instance ID. That's like a number, right? So just imagine that objects are being created inside your app. And it goes from it just increments number, right? It's a bit different than that, but like 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. Now, if one reference that you have, one variable contains the same contents as another, if those two numbers are the same, because it must be the same object, that is an identity match, right? Whereas an equals is you running a function and then you're comparing the contents of two objects. So there could be two different instances of the same object type, the same class, right? But have the same contents inside them, and that's an equality match, right? So there's the difference between the two. Now, identity is always going to be quicker because you're just comparing, are these the same actual instance of the object, right? However, it rarely is that simple because you might have multiple instantiations of a class, with the same contents, and you want to know that are these two instantiations equal. That's one of the reasons why if you're doing things like removing null, what you can do is have like a static empty equals and then like a blank instantiation of the class. And because it's a static const, what you're doing is saying there's only ever one instance of this variable for the entirety of the app. And then identity operator becomes effective there, because whenever you're checking for empty, you're actually checking an identity match, and it never checks the quality. Hope that helps.
Oh, apparently I even filed a bug about how value notifier blurs the line between equality and identity. So I've already mentioned this here. I'll post this.
Well, I'm looking at the source code for it, and it just uses equality to do its check.
And that's what it
So
says.
it uses the equals operator. So it effectively, the problem here is it means it doesn't, by default, that means you're going to, so for those that don't understand, the equals operator doesn't an identity match first, and then it checks the content. So you get the benefit of both, right?
Yep. And I put a link to my issue on it there, and apparently it's not resolved yet. So
right,
the documentation would be better.
What did I miss? I heard you guys talking, but I couldn't answer. Yeah, so just based on the WoW shopping thing, with values and streams.
Why is it still in
How to decide which? Just pick one.
Anywhere
Like so, for example, the thing here with change notifier is when you're you want to be but it's not one particular value that you're notifying on, right? So therefore, it's a change notifier. That's where that comes in. A value notifier is basically an implementation of a listenable that has one value, and that makes it value listenable. And that way, if you can make generic interfaces around the idea of a value has changed its state, and therefore what is the new value, right? And you can do that with that one. Stream it has applicability, like in terms of processing of data. So most people don't use streams effectively enough and probably misuse them, but streams are important when you need to set up what's called a pipeline. So this is several stages of data manipulation that occur. You set that up in a stream. So when data goes into the stream, it gets manipulated and then comes out the stream. That's where streams come in helpful. It allows the data to be moved and manipulated through a pipeline. And then through the stream operators, you can join data, you can extract data, you can fold data, you can do all these kind of fun things. The annoying thing with Dart is that the kind of stream controller aspect of it is a bit clunky, as I think that's what Randall was alluding to. That's why whenever I use streams, I use RX Dart. RX Dart basically makes Dart streams usable. It takes some of the concepts of RX and puts them into Dart. Originally, it used the observable pattern, but that was moved out because we just don't need it in Dart. Dart already has a mechanisms around that. Originally, the RX pattern, which is what it's used, which cloning, has this notion of an observable item is getting pushed through a pipe. I won't go into it now, but we just don't need it. So it was simplified. And RX Dart is basically, if you're using streams, you should be using RX Dart. You can do things like, what's really nice in RX Dart is you've got things like subjects. So you have a published subject and a behavior subject. These are very two common interfaces. A published subject is what you actually want a stream to be naturally in Dart, which is you send something on it and it fires it out to all of the people that are listening, and then that's it. It's like an event-driven thing, right? So it just publishes, right? And you just think of it as that. It's a stream and a sync, and you don't think about controllers and start and stopping and broadcast. It just works. The behavior subject is quite nice. It's again a very popular. Again, this is one of the things that most people don't realize about streams. So first of all, I might as well talk about streams for a second because people I think are interested. So streams by default can only be listened to once, right? You listen to the stream, and once it's closed, that's it. You can't listen to it again. You can't open it up again. No, it's done. It's finished.
One use only.
One use only. Then you have broadcast streams. Broadcast streams are what people kind of expect normal streams to be, which is you can open it up, you can send data, and then you can unlisten to it, you can re-listen to it, you can unlisten to it. It doesn't matter. You can have multiple people listen to it. It's all just works. so you kind of got these two different types of stream. You got synchronous versions and by default asynchronous versions and some other things that are going on there. But what happens is when you put data on a stream, it will queue it, and everything else, if it's paused, you can pause and resume streams. But once it's through the pipeline of the stream, that's it, it's gone. The data's gone, right? What behavior subject does is it maintains the last value of the stream, and whenever anyone connects to the stream again to listen to it, it will emit the last value to them. This is kind of what you expect from most streams, right? Which is you connect up, and then the last thing that was put down the stream, the last value that you should be looking at, that comes back to you. And that's kind of what you want in a lot of like state management patterns. But you can manipulate this data. You can do lots of things, switch maps, flat maps, like really nice things, actually. Yeah, anyway, so basically RxDart adds lots of extensions to streams to make them usable. There you go. I'll shut up now. But anyway, there's reasons to use them, and don't overcomplicate your life. Just pick one, and if it works for you, great.
Yep.
Yeah, so a value notifier and a value notifier and a
notifier.
I got a little scenario for you both for you actually. The difference between a value, so a behavior subject and a value notifier will essentially be the same thing, right? That is, once they emit notification, the value becomes the value that you read is the value that it has, right? There is a slight difference, right? Which is a stream always emits, and you're always seeing the value as it was when you got that notification and it was processed. A value notifier does not necessarily mean that, because you can be, it could have changed in the value of the value notifier could have changed in the meantime whilst you're being notified, and that can't happen with a stream. A stream is a serialized set of events. So there are some slight behavioral things. For the most part, most people, it doesn't matter. Depends on what you're doing. Anyway, hopefully that's just
cool.
Wasted lots of time. Sorry. Yeah,
no, that's good stuff. So this question we're not answering right now, but I want to use it to illustrate something that's important to know about asking questions, which is that you cannot paste URLs into the chat. We never see that. But if you have a question that results in us wanting us to look at code, go make a gist. So go to GitHub, gist.github.com, is that it? Gist.github.com. Make a gist and take just the hex characters at the end of the URL and paste it in this chat. You can do that, and that's what this person done. That's what David has done. And when we get to his question about 7 questions from now, we will look that up and be able to look at his source code. So keep that in mind when you are asking questions that involve code. Moving on, though, but we have this who's asking about Python. Is there any way to run Python code in Flutter? Why do people keep wanting to do that? Get rid of Python, please. Some like Dart FFI or Method Channel, I want to run some ML. It's always ML. No, you don't want to do that.
It's okay. It's like what you're doing there is saying, can I just put like diesel in my gasoline tank, right? Like it's just not compatible, right? You can run a Python interpreter, but this ML code was not designed to run on a mobile phone inside an application. So what you've just done is just made a mess and spent lots of time for no reason, right? You need to think about what you're trying to achieve and use ones that are meant for the platform that you're running on.
Yeah, pretty much everything ML related already has like Dart Pub or REST APIs. So you can just call that using standard Dart technology. You don't have to use Python in any part of your stack. The Python layer anyway is just a thin layer talking to a heavy library anyway. So you don't really need Python. I don't think.
Yeah, if you want to just run your model, then you probably want TensorFlow Lite and just feed your model on big machine, and then just upload this to your phone and use TensorFlow Lite to run the model.
Also, the less Python we do in the world, the better. But okay, that's just a long story.
Yeah, I agree. It looks like there's actually is like some people have actually, well, someone's actually done like Python FFI Dart thing, which allows you to do something crazy.
Frankenstein monster. Oh, or Brundlefly. Brundlefly.
Yeah, Brundlefly. This honestly, this is disturbing. Let's share this. Let's share this. Hang on.
No, I don't want to see it.
Simon's going into the rabbit hole.
Let's see how disturbing this is. So we have been. Okay, so
I'll be erasing this from
examples. CLI adder. Right.
I need a.
See, this is meant for CLI, right? Python modules. I say, okay, so it generates a bunch of wrapper code. Yeah. To access, look, like get attribute, get function. Like, oh no,
what?
It doesn't do that. Hey, Python, do you see this lovely base 64 string? That is Python modules. Is this like the Python source code that's like included into that?
No.
Let me just have a look at this. So this is what it does. So Python extends Python module. I want to import modules. So is that like, was that the static? I don't remember. Anyway, there's obviously it decodes it, it runs it, and that uses some other library, was it Dart? This just, yeah, no. I mean, to tell you wrong, look, it works, right? And you can do it, and it's great. Yeah. But there's a point at which, oh look, if it's Mac, Windows, or Linux, like it's just, they are not supporting your platform. So basically, it only supports Mac, Windows, and Linux. Doesn't even support mobile. So I mean, like, this is the thing, right? This, yeah, don't is the answer.
No.
There you go. Moving on.
Take it, TensorFlow, convert it, use it.
Yeah. All right, let's move on before I start freaking out at my screen here. Is it legal to deploy a Flutter app on a different server apart from the Play Store? It is getting to be that way now, right?
Yes.
No. It's always been.
It's always been.
Oh,
you could just take the APK and put it someplace, right?
There's loads like Samsung have their app stores. LG have, like, some of the different vendors have their different app stores. You've got like independent like platform providers with gadgets and gizmos that have their APK distribution platforms. There are tons of them. Yeah, it's completely legal to do that.
Sorry, I've grown up in the iOS environment, so I kind of think things are always locked down. But I guess no, there's more singing on the other side of the
Play Store is just the official one that Google put on their Google approved devices, right?
Right.
That's all it means, right? So it also just means that because it's the largest of the Android ones, it has a certain amount of weight behind it, which means that people want it on their devices. Which means it's always nice to deploy to the Play Store because you're going to get a wider distribution and access to your app. You just need to be careful, like when you're using your app on other platforms, and obviously if you need to like deploy, let's say you do doing there's a Kindle one, right? There's a Kindle like app store for APKs. Yeah. Suddenly you would have to like do specific things to your Gradle and your thing to get it to deploy for, like, build your app ready for Kindle, right? Now you do that so many times, your build process is going to be absolutely manic, right? So, you know, pick and choose, right? Don't just go, I'm going to put it everywhere.
Yep. All right. Next. Couldn't save refresh token in HTTP, only on debug. Well, it's fine on Postman. Does it have anything with Flutter, or should I build it to make it work? That's some word salad there. Refresh
Couldn't
token.
save refresh token in HTTP only on debug.
Why?
Well, it's fine on Postman. Does it have anything to do with Flutter, I guess? Or should I be building? I
should be able to.
You need to re-ask your question. I have zero concept of what you mean by any of this.
Yeah, you got to simplify.
Tell us what you're trying to do,
people.
And then you're saying it's not working, and maybe we can tell you how to do it.
Yeah.
We're down to 3 questions now at this point.
Get your questions in the queue. We'll do some live chat as well. We'll do some live coding.
we still have some plenty of time too. So let's do that. How about? Oh, and we're finally to the question that involved the gist.
Here you go. There's the gist.
Oh.
Why is this okay?
Why is this okay? Abstract class easy.
Isn't it?
Well,
oops.
Oh, because
basically because this is void
on the return type.
String.
Yeah.
Oh.
Is the return type not larger?
So void itself means it doesn't. This is the only thing. Void is the special use case for this, right? Because void basically means I don't return anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same. It's.
Oh, and I see. And code that counts on that could still work with StarCraft because it'll just be ignoring the return value.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a legal upcast or downcast or whatever they call those. I never remember the order of up or down.
But if it was int or something else, it would be a failure, right? Let me just check. Yeah, it's because void. It's because you can ignore the result. It's void, right? Like it's a valid upcast in this case, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why would you?
Yeah, exactly.
We have some more questions. Cool.
Yes, it's valid.
I hope that helps, David.
Don't do it.
It's you can by the way you can enforce strict types and actually it will show that as an error. So inside, let me find it for you.
Probably analysis options. There's
probably
some enable.
Strict mode.
It's one of those other three things you can enable or disable. I think there's the extra analysis modes or whatever.
I'm trying to remember what it's called now.
Not the lints.
Is it just in setting? Well, that's just backing.
Here you go. No, found it. Found it. Got it first. Right. Yeah. There you go. Oh, wrong tab.
Nope.
There you go.
Almost. Only off by one.
So yeah, analysis options. You can analyze a language. A strict casts true, and that will enforce and won't allow you to do what you're doing. And that's what it says down here, right? Ensure type inference engine never implicitly casts dynamic on a specific type, and implicit downcast dynamic to values. Blah 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 blah. So you will find this will piss you off, but it does actually enforce some interesting. It actually does find bugs, potential bugs, especially if you did dynamic. It's up to you to do it, and there's implicit cast as well, so you have to explicitly cast from one type to another, right? So you can't again do it wrong, and stricter inference as well. Both of the I've actually built apps with. Whoops, too far. With these checks, I'll put them in the chat, the link, so people can read it. But yeah.
Also, those are all part of Very Good Analysis, which is a package I highly recommend you run with.
I don't think these are turned on. I don't think
these are turned on. It turns those on too. I think so. Yeah.
I most don't. I don't think that's turned on. I'm going to look.
Very Good Analysis has like everything.
No, I mean like these are not turned on in like any analysis because it does literally make your coding difficult.
Well, the reason I say this is because one of the first things I do when a client asks me to review their code is I add Very Good Analysis and see where it blows up.
Right.
Oh my
God. Version 7. Yeah, no, they said it's true. Yeah, they said it's true.
This is like taking that ultraviolet light and taking it into a hotel room. You don't want to know.
Yeah, the stuff you don't want to see.
Liquids. You don't want to know that. And Very Good Analysis is pretty close to the same thing for most people's code. It's like
I haven't used it in a while, but yeah, no, it's in there in the latest version. So if people don't know, it's this package we're talking about by Very Good Ventures, which is their default analysis options they use on all their packages.
Yeah, and that's why I said that's my kryptonite that I bring in every time. Now I've mixed metaphors and science. I've got ultraviolet light and kryptonite.
All right.
It's still early enough. I can get away with that. All right, let's go to the next question here. Dio. I always like Dio questions because they don't understand a lot about Dio. I'm using Dio and made a cache interceptor. which stores the cache in the database. Now I want to call the API as well after returning the cache data and return that new API data as well. How can I do it?
You
Coding.
can't.
Oh,
It's not done at that level. You can only return one response, as far as I know. I don't think DO supports streaming responses, like multiple responses. It's been a while since I looked at the DO package, actually. I mean, the problem here is that when you make a HTTP request, you expect one response. You don't expect multiple responses.
Right.
So what you would normally be doing is going, is this stale? Then I might make the request to the server with the right cache header so that it turns back at 304, and then I can then return back the data. So you're picking and choosing when to use your cached version. If you want to do it like you're saying, you return the stale data no matter what, and then go to the server. That's not at the HTTP level. That's at the layer below that, at your repository layer, essentially, your service layer, right? Whatever it is.
Yeah. Okay. I guess that's an answer. Is equatable still popular for Dart data classes? Yeah. It's one of the first things I reach for.
Yep.
I have a shortcut in my VS Code that does pretty much everything equatable adds, and adds all of the method access and print string and stuff, which equatable doesn't do. Equatable is only about double equals in hash code.
Will equatable be not needed once we have macros?
I bet it still will be, but it'll be a macro. Oh, it doesn't need to be a macro, right?
Well, no, but I mean, like it doesn't. No, the macro could be used to generate the code, but I don't think we should be like, it doesn't need to be a list anymore, right? You don't need to generate a list because the variables are there. So the actual result of the quality function checking those things and like the equals it, you know what I mean? That can be generated with a macro.
I think it's going to be that most people will move to the macro version of freezed when it comes out.
Yeah.
And that will, in fact, avoid any need for equatable because it's already built into freezed. So I think from that perspective,
the people that are using equatable, though, aren't using all the other things, right? They'll be using bits and pieces. So I don't know. Yeah, I see your point, but equally, I think there's room for just having like a macro version of equatable.
Yeah. We'll see. Let's see. I try to create a standalone button. It opens a menu that closes when clicked outside of the menu. Is there something like focus node, but for widgets to detect if a widget is focused or not? Well, there's the thing about clicking outside, right?
Widget is called focus.
Yeah.
Yes, there is. It's called focus.
Yeah.
So the click outside is a bit different, right? It's because a tap outside may not take the focus, right? What you're trying to do is, Gerbs, is basically say when I lose focus and I tap outside, there's two separate things there, right? Tapping outside because it may not take the focus. However, switching focus, especially if you're like blind or you're using accessibility, that we will want to just maybe dismiss it, right? So there's two separate things there, and the widget you're looking for is called focus, and that will provide you with a focus node. You can just create a focus node and supply it, but it will do on focus. I think it's on focus change, if I remember rightly. Let's have a look. Let's bring it up. There you go. Focus widget. A widget that manages a focus node allows the keyboard focus to be given to this widget and its descendants. And it explains it all in traversal groups and lots of examples, which we're not going to ignore. Yes, you specify the child, and then you can specify an on-focus change. There you go. You can make keyword events as well, and then if you wanted to skip traversal, other defendants, all the various parameters. Yeah, there you go. So that's how you can get like focus. If you want tap outside, there's now, it's actually called tap outside, isn't it? There's it's called tap. Was it tap region? Yeah. So
that's what I was thinking of.
A widget defines a region that can detect taps inside and or outside of itself. So you can wrap this in your on your piece of surface or your pop-up that you're doing, and then you'll get an on tap outside callback. There you go. If something's tapped outside, you'll get it. And that's how that works. There you go. So tap region and focus, the two widgets you're missing.
Cool. All right. Our last question.
I will mention before we disappear, sorry. You can also do, especially if you're pushing something on top, you can push something that fills the entire screen. And that's a gesture detector. And then put your thing on top. And then if your gesture detector taps, this depends on if you have like a scrim, sorry. So like a darkened 50% opacity of the screen or something like that. That can also be a nice way of doing it as well.
Yeah. So why wouldn't
modal does it, right? Modal.
But why wouldn't you just use the show menu, which has it all built in?
Yeah, the modal thing.
Yeah. There's a there's a pop-up menu button. This pop-up menu as a widget. And there's also show pop-up as a menu. Show menu. Yeah, it's a top level global that lets you essentially do this, right? Yeah.
All right. Last question. Get your questions in right now, otherwise you're going to get distracted by us live coding. Is there a way to do what Flexible Wrap does with the built-in widget? There's a demo video on the package to see what I'm talking about. What's the Flexible Wrap package? I don't think I've seen that. But Simon will have it on the screen any second now.
Well, indeed.
He's good at that. He's good at many things. That's just one of them.
Oh. Well, it's just... Oh, it's resizing. That's what's different.
What is this?
So it's basically a wrap, but it's actually sizing the widgets to fill the screen. Instead of...
So that's, I mean, fine.
Yeah.
Is there any way to do what Flexible Wrap does with built-in widgets? Yes. I mean,
that's wrap. If you don't need to have the objects resized.
No, you just wrap a wrap widget in a layout builder. There you go. You're done. So in your layout builder, you're going to get the width, and then based on that width, you decide how many widgets you want, and then you put that in the wrap, and then that makes that many like columns or whatever. By default, this is done with a grid view. Grid view allows max column extent, max child extent, like layout child thing, whatever it's called. You have by count, you have like a column count, and then you have max extent 1. Yeah, that's the one. Well, no. And basically you put like 300, and then when it reaches more than 300, or add 2 or 3. When you make it smaller, or add less. You can do it that way as well.
Yep. Cool. All right. Next one. Last one. Next one. No. Is there anything else on that? Okay. Our last one that just came in a moment ago, fresh off the press. How to prevent the browser back button. Let's see, is this an odd numbered week or an even numbered week? We haven't been asked this for a while, like at least 2 weeks, so it's not bad. How do you prevent the browser back button? I mean, when the back button is tapped, it shows a confirm dialog.
Pop scope.
Yep.
There you go.
That's it?
Done.
Nothing to think about that? Okay.
Well, I mean, like the pop scope literally is designed for this, right? So here, let's bring it up. So it was called, you did have Will Pop Scope. Now, Will Pop Scope, yeah, it was called that. Now it's called Pop Scope, right? But the general gist is you want to like go back, you can then say, look, are you sure? Never mind, leave, right? And when that's done, there's an example there. Here,
oh, that was even an example? That'll be easy then. Cut and paste the example is the answer to that.
So where is it? Here you go. Show back dialog. Where is it? One time. Yeah, pop scope. Can pop false. And then when they try to pop, then it will call this function, and then that's going to show the dialog and return it. But anyway, this is what you're missing, pop scope. That's what you're here.
Cool.
There you go. Was that your actual question that you were talking about earlier? Free entertaining? Or was that something else? That's not.
No, I don't know. Anyway, that's done. That's it. We're done with questions. So, what do we got for live coding?
That's well, I mean, happy to take suggestions, people, but we had some requests from last week. We're going to see if we can get going here. Hang on.
Yeah, I'm watching the chat, see if anybody's suggesting like anything to work on today.
Trying the scrolling banner this week.
Simon's pretty good at responding to pretty much anything people have.
I have a comment on everything.
Yeah, design a content management system.
Just like that. Bosh.
Use Firestore and S3.
Basically, you're saying, can you do my job for you? Or your job for me? Whatever. The answer is no.
I'm kidding. Nobody's saying this. I'm just making it up. That's not in the chat.
Because but that's the kind of thing that we get, right? We know we've been funny about this, but literally we'll get questions like, not here, but like just on other platforms and things. It's like, how do I do this massively big thing? And it's like, that's literally the job. The job description is do this thing, right? I'm not.
I'm laughing because Randall and I see that all the time on Discord. Somebody will ask a question about how do you do blah blah blah, and it's the same thing we see here, right? It's like how do you write an entire application? I mean,
well,
yeah,
I appreciate though that when you don't have a starting space to even ask the right questions, it's hard, right? And then that normally the answer to those questions are like, go look at these resources and learn, right?
Yeah. Yep.
We actually do have a couple of quick questions here. So one is a follow up on that. Wrap doesn't allow flexible width. How do you want it to look then? I mean, if you have each object with its intrinsic width, what are you talking about?
Well,
right. Wrap doesn't allow flexible width.
Right. Well, if you look at that flexible wrap, right, the GIF that's in there, it's auto sizing the columns to fit the full width. As you shrink, some of them are. So if you watch that as it's resizing, there's some of them are larger, and then all of a sudden they get a little smaller, and they kind of jump in size so that they fill the width of the screen. That's what they're trying to get.
We'll do this. Let's do an example. How's that?
Yeah. Pop scope doesn't work if it wraps the scaffold? Question mark.
The other one, but wait, Simon finishes this one first.
I don't remember. I don't think it.
I don't see why it wouldn't, but
I don't see why it wouldn't.
How could it not?
I mean, because it's done at the route level. So if you've got scaffold wrapping your material app, I'm gonna go mad.
That's the wrong order. That's like putting on your pants before your underwear.
Everything's widgets. Widgets all the way down. Didn't anyone tell you?
You don't want to go that order. That's not it.
No.
Never. I learned this as a child. No pants before underwear.
Unless you're Superman.
Unless you're Superman.
Right,
exactly.
right.
There, a perfect counterpoint.
If you're a superhero, it's okay. But
maybe I'd have special powers if I wore it outside like that. I can't remember if the people in what was the name of that show? Mystery Men. Did Mystery Men people wear their underwear on the outside?
Most of the superheroes do, so it's possible.
Yeah, I don't remember. It's been a while since I've seen Mystery Men. It came up the other day, though. Oh, somebody was asking me what a useless superpower would be, and I said, only being invisible when nobody's watching. I was referring to.
Yeah.
Honest, I've got a superpower. You just can't tell. I can imagine those conversations. Please believe me.
Yeah. In that case, the answer is really any superpower that can't be used in the presence of someone else, right? So
maybe.
Well, no, because if your power was like like winning the lottery. You don't be in front of the lottery,
But just the Mystery Men one was just funny.
Yeah.
I did that, and I got some chuckles on the Reddit thread, so that was good.
Right. Let me get a screen share.
Rajender, I have my moments where I can sometimes have the appearance of being humorous. I'm not saying I'm actually humorous. I just seem to
humorous.
some things that people interpret as humor, but it's still one level of indirection.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest. All let's be honest.
I'm occasionally goofy. Yes, I'm occasionally.
All comedy
goofy.
is up for interpretation.
Yes, that's true. So what are we doing? The Popscope one?
No.
Okay.
Well, I was trying to get that off the screen for a second just to make room. Okay. Right. So yes, we do want to do pops. Do we want to do Popscope? What was no? It wasn't Popscope. It was
flexible wrap,
right? All right, let's do that. Let's do
wraps. Wrap app.
Now it sounds like is rap here?
Yeah.
Rap app. Yeah, we're gonna get rap app. Where's Rap Pain? It's been a while.
Yeah. See a tweet from him every once in a while. He was just asking a question, wasn't he? He was asking a question about if people do certain things a certain way. I can't remember what it was now. I just saw it a couple days ago, maybe.
You can try giving your minimum width to fill the screen. There's some interesting things you can do. I'm kind of.
You can try giving your rap children
we're gonna do. We're gonna do some things here.
Interesting.
Let's see this building.
You need boxes of random widths.
No, I didn't do it. So it's a mobile, so I'm not going to have to test it, are we?
Yeah, you want to run it in web or desktop.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Well, this running desktop is
something you can resize.
Maybe we can try and recreate the GIF for that package.
Yeah, there you go.
Because I think they were just using a container or something with repeated text over and over.
Give me a second. I'll take a look. That's a list tile with a leading and a
trailing
and 2 lines, but yeah. Oh, I think it worked. Let's try again. Screen. No, we have a big white box.
Somebody's suggesting wrapping the children with a minimum width constraint to fill the screen.
We shouldn't need to do that. Let's see where we get to. Right. So, first of all, we need a on our material. We actually it should be material action, and then we'll have a home. Let's not burn my irises out. I'm going to do dark.
You still have irises?
Apparently.
It's because he doesn't go outside ever.
I go outside. It can sometimes be wet out there. And sometimes...
All right, so in Oregon, wet, never.
It was actually wet at 4 this morning, so of course I got an alert for rain.
Definitely never wet by Simon either.
I know, right? The UK is never wet. No, never.
They passed a law in London in 1430, right? Something like that.
It can't rain there.
You can't claim it rains. That's it. We have to obey the law here.
The weather reporters are never allowed to say the word rain.
Wouldn't that be wacky as well? Oh, Today it's not dry.
Today it will not be dry. Yeah. Yep.
Today there's an unusual concentrations of H's and O's and a ratio of 2 to 1.
What is that face? It's like a smiley face.
Smiley. What's the word for water? Dihydral oxygen, oxygen dihydride. Yeah.
So Simon, while you're coding away, Utsav is asking why you use IntelliJ instead of VS Code.
Because it's better, in my opinion. Yeah.
You should use Vim.
Yeah.
Let's just trigger everyone.
Let's do it all in Notepad.
Let's trigger everyone.
Ed.
Yep. We could use what was that called? Etherpad. Let's do our coding in Etherpad.
Right. Can I wire an analyzer into Etherpad?
We might be able to. I don't know.
Yeah.
You can in Vim.
Yep.
You can do everything.
Emacs too.
In Emacs too.
I'm so glad that I discovered VS Code before I learned that Emacs had LSP, because I'm happy that I'm working with VS Code now. But I had been doing everything in Emacs before that. Everything.
Etherpad's open source, Randall. We could contribute an analyzer.
No, I mean Emacs already has the LSP connection now, so I can use the analyzer, which is fine.
All right, guys. I need to go.
Okay.
Well, thanks for dropping by.
All right. See you, Ref.
Yep.
Thanks for helping out.
See you next week. Cheers.
Yeah. There's a little bit of me in every copy of GNU Emacs, so I kind of have an affinity for it. I wrote the Emacs Lisp Pretty Printer, and it was called Brilliant by Richard Stallman. So he immediately asked for a copyright assignment so he could include it in the core. So my name goes out with every copy of GNU Emacs.
Nice.
Just one of
Right,
the.
we're just gonna.
Sorry. Go to what?
All right. We have tiles.
We're not tiling our bathroom. We're tiling the window.
That's just annoying. There's the theme. I was going to write a theme, can't you? Why is the dark theme? I forgot he'd change it. There's a way of flipping brightness. You do with brightness annotation? Would that work? I don't know. Should we try it? Why not? I feel like that would be built in if it worked. But let's try it. I mean,
Rotated brightness.
no, we should do that. That you could do that. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
So if people don't know, you can annotate portions of your screen, a portion of your real estate with annotated region, and then you can look those up. So in this case, list tile could look up any annotated region around that covers my area for brightness, and then like change the text color from bright to dark depending. Really cool. Anyway, I don't think there's a list tile style. Yeah, but this is just like modes of operation. Yeah,
yep.
That's annoying. I know you can do like theme, but text color. Icon color. That'll do, just so we got some contrast, right? All right. So obviously, this is the problem that someone in the chat, I can't remember who was talking about, and this was the fact that a grid view, even though it does this, and if you look here as we make it smaller, it will get to a point where it snaps because I've done a max extent on the max cross-axis extent as the grid delegate here, it does control the height, and we don't want that. We want the height. We only want to do this in the width. How do we do this, right? So, as I was alluding to earlier, so if you had this fixed at, say, as I said before, if I wrap this here with a size box, width of 300. Now, let's put this, just because of brevity here, let's make a little statement switch and call it tile. Put that in there. And in fact, we'll remove that. So this is the contents of the tile. We're going to leave that the same. I don't want to have to fiddle around with that. You don't need to see that. You understand it. So what we're going to do here is change this to a layout builder. And inside our layout builder, we can return a wrap. There's lots of ways of doing this, but let me just show you this one for a second. And then what we want to say is, I don't know, how many do we want?
42.
I don't know, 50?
42 is good, but 50 is
Oh, yeah. What we're talking about. Of course, 42. Of course. Like,
when in doubt, 42.
Yep.
Exactly.
It's the answer to life, the universe, and everything.
And everything.
Right.
So as we can see here, this is kind of interesting, right? I wasn't necessarily expecting that behavior. Oh, because it didn't put the size box around it, did it?
Right.
Portland failed in its efforts to rename 42nd Avenue to Douglas Adams Street. Sadly.
There we go. So,
but it was on the ballot.
Coming back to what we're looking at, this does work. So this will wrap the number of 30s. But what we actually want to do is use up this free space between the markers for the widget, right? Well, this is really this is really simple. We take our constraints, max width, right? And then we want to say how many 300s do we what's we want to do? We want a remainder for 300. Yeah. This would be the leftover space. Yeah.
I was thinking weird seeing mod with floating point values. It's weird.
So we got the leftover width.
It's not what I was trained.
Then we want to divide our leftover width by the number of
tiles
we have. So let's do this final. Tiles X.
So it's our width divided by 300. Yeah.
Right. This is the addition of on 300 that we need to. So the child width would be 300 plus that.
Yep.
And then pop that in there. Bit of math. Very const. And there you go. Interesting enough, we got a rounding error here.
Yeah.
Why am I not missing? Why am I missing a gap? What have I got wrong here? Oh yeah, there it is. There we go.
Yeah.
So this is an integer divide for those people that don't know, and that's what the problem was there. Okay, so there you go. So now look, it'll do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There you go.
Oh,
exactly the same as what we wanted. It just worked.
Cool. Ship it.
Math work.
Yes.
So then what we could do is make a what do we call this? Let's call this let's say this widget and call it max cross axis wrap. There you go. Right?
Yeah.
And what do we want? We want a value which is the max cross axis, right? And
somebody says make the window smaller than 300.
No, we don't do that. I don't think that would actually be a problem.
No, it'll just because it'll make it as small as it needs to fit.
Yeah. So
yeah.
But
that's
edge cases.
That's a user problem. If a user wants to make it that narrow, we're still complying with his request.
What will
So we've
happen
got
if
max
the height
cross
of the tiles is different?
We can do that. I'll show you in a second. So what are the values for wrap? Let's maybe pass over some of the basic ones. I don't really want to pass them all over. I guess spacing and alignment and direction. Oops. Butterfingers. Oh, yeah, alignment. Right. Cross axis max. No, max. Extent. Okay, so now we've got a bunch of values. We want to take all these values and pass them on, because why not? And then children. Oh, we need to miss that one. That'd be the most. That'd be the one that we actually need. Oops. Yep. And then in here we can say children dot forward for final child in all right, and then change our max cross axis extent here, here, and here. Number, maybe this should be column count. Column. Remaining width. Right. All right. So now we've done that. Now we've got a little widget of our own that does the logic that we want. When it comes to putting it out, you're just doing it like you would do normally. And funny enough, restart. Yeah, it behaves exactly like it did before, which is good because that's how we wanted it. But now you've kind of got max cross-axis wrap. There you go. We'll put that in a gist in just a second. You wanted to say what would happen if it was a different height, right? So let's say wrap with widget. Builder. Done that wrong. Sorry. We can fix it. And what we'll say is if I is I don't know, third one, every third, return a sized box, height 100. There was a silly example. That'd be every fourth, right? Whatever, that there. There you go.
Hey.
Let's maybe make that 105 just to
make it mod 5 or something instead of 2 that way.
No, I'm just trying to make
More obvious, yeah.
More obvious, right? There you go, 3, make it a lot nicer so you can see. So yeah, depending on the column, right? Now this is the run alignment, right? So if now, because I've passed over those parameters, we can actually do cross-axis alignment and say like center. He says, oh yeah, wrap. If I get it right, wrap cross-axis. And there you go. Now it's center them, right? Or we could choose to stretch. I think there's a stretch. I thought there was a stretch. Apparently, there's not a stretch. You can do end. There you go. Oh no, you can do whatever you want, right? Yeah. So there you go. Is that what you were looking for?
Next release of Flutter, you'll find this widget in the core.
I mean, it would actually kind of be helpful. I get, to be honest, it's kind of a common pattern to do this. Maybe not to have it in a wrap per se. I mean, you can do this, by the way, for most people, just to explain. Yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of ways of doing these things. All right, let's post that into a gist before we go any further.
Right, we've got.
This is what I'm trying to say. Like, I look at packages, right? Like that package we just saw, and I'm like, why did I need a package for that, right?
Yeah.
I appreciate that, not everyone knows how to do this, but that's it. That was the complexity, right? Like 4 lines of adding this really to a widget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that yeah, you need to give it some thought. By the way, this is not necessarily the most optimal way of doing this. There was actually a slightly better way, but then you would be doing I mean, I wouldn't worry about it because it's probably not going to impact on any sort of performance. But if you do find that you think it's giving you performance, which you'll see because you're getting too many builds, then you replace the layout builder and the wrap with your own custom widget doing this at the layout phase. But yeah, I wouldn't worry about it.
Yep.
We do have 3 questions left, and it's getting close to the top of the hour. One of them is a code question, so let's get through those, and we'll call it a day. So no more questions, please. No more questions. We're wrapping now. Let's see here. Was that the first one? No. Hold on. This one is the code one. Why don't we start with this? So about the refresh token question.
Yeah, I had it up.
Yeah.
If you want to pull it up, or you want me to just read it? Yeah, my cat.
The cat says read it.
Cat's like, you better read
Cat's
it.
trying to read it for you.
What was this?
Meow.
So yeah, it's about the refresh token. He says, I saved the refresh token on HTTP only cookie by the back end. So front end doesn't have anything to do with it. I have a route to refresh the token. When I send the request to that route, the backend gets the refresh token from the client's HTTP only cookie and refreshes the access token. But in Flutter, when I send the request using HTTP package to that route, the backend can't read the token while it works fine in Postman.
Do they have?
I'm already very confused.
Yeah, I'm
thinking they're missing the permission for HTTP. Because that's a separate permission from network access.
Well,
so for those that wants the code we just made,
that's why Postman works, and that's
in the chat.
Why mobile doesn't.
Yeah, that's where you can find the code snippet for what we just did.
Oh, cool.
Right, what was this other thing? Did someone post some code? Sorry, tonight.
Yeah, just a gist of the. It's not code. It's actually just text.
The full question.
A much larger question, yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Do you want to do that, or?
All right. I just want to read it. It doesn't do any time. About the refresh token question. I have saved the refresh token HTTP only cookie I saved the refresh by HTTP. So the front end doesn't have anything to do with it.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. What they're.
The problem with the word
I
front
have
end.
I have a route to refresh the token. He means back-end route. So this is talking about server-side code.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm guessing from it.
I save the refresh token, HTTP only token, by the backend, and the front end doesn't need to do with it. I have a route to refresh the token. When I send the request to that route, the backend gets the refresh token from the client's HTTP only cookie and refreshes the access token. But in Flutter, when I send the request using HTTP package to that route, the backend can't read the token while it works fine in Postman. So first of all, you can't make unsecure. First of all, you've done HTTP only. It's probably been stripped out on purpose because it's insecure, right? Like mobile apps actually have to be specified now to allow clear text. Like you're only meant to communicate with HTTPS. Just to be clear about that one. And I can't see the package stripping it out, to be honest. It doesn't work that way. So I suspect that you're not putting. Are you actually putting the header, the cookie header, in your request? That's what I'd say. I mean, you need to do that with HTTP package. It doesn't magically. To be clear, I think this might be the other side of this is you may be using cookies in the browser. Your HTTP package doesn't magically get those cookies, right? I know that sounds silly, but that's just the way, they're separate things, right? So you would have had to have saved that cookie that you got back on the HTTP package and the response headers. So you have to look at the cookie response headers for the HTTP only, save that token and use it in your following requests, right? Like you have to do that. Postman's doing it for you because that's how because it's connected to the browser. In fact, there's a setting in Postman to turn that off so it doesn't take advantage of the built browser features. There's nothing magical in Flutter that would strip this out or do it for you. But you shouldn't be mobile apps in general. That's Flutter, right? But mobile apps in general, you might have to turn on allow clear text transports, something like that, if I remember rightly.
A new beta of Flutter is out. It's 3.26. Yeah, out for an hour. Still Dart 3.6 though. So, but Flutter 3.26 is out in beta.
Right. What's next?
Cool. AI, our favorite subject. What are your thoughts on AI for better autocomplete on the code? I believe using AI in this scenario might.
While you ask that, I'll be back in just a second.
In this scenario,
disappeared. Here's my experience. I've been using Copilot since it was first in beta for people. I then use Codium for a while as my go-to for that. Codium being a free service, unless you really wanted to pay the enterprise rates, but it works fully featured, even free. Codium was also not trained on GPL code, so it saves me the possible embarrassment of including GPL code, which they've proved that Copilot will do. And I'm now beta testing. I think this is public enough that I'm allowed to talk about it. I'm beta testing the Gemini Code Assist, which is, I think, so far best of breed. They're definitely getting better in terms of what they're auto-completing and the kinds of things I can do with questions and how that integrates back into my workflow. It used to be sort of tough to kind of take whatever Copilot said and then somehow merge it back into your text. Now it's just, it shows you a diff and it goes, do you like the diff? And you go, sure. And it just merges it in. And that's so much nicer. Gemini Code Assist is also in IDX. So I think whether or not you have access to Gemini Code Assist in the beta program, I think IDX is open for everybody as long as you have a Gmail account. So
yes.
IDX has also Gemini Code Assist built into it and a lot of other interesting features as well. So again, play with it for yourself. Here's the thing. It is just generating a highly statistically likely follow-on sequence of characters. It can't do any better than that. It doesn't understand the words it's throwing at you. There's no consciousness there. It's just a really smart autocomplete. And it does save keystrokes, but about 50-50, 50% of the time, because the other 50% of the time it does something you go, no, that's not what I wanted. Not
Well,
even close. You have to have
if
that
you
extra.
know that,
Yeah.
if you know that though, because how many
Yeah,
times have we seen people post stuff and say my code doesn't work, and we find out, well, that's because
Yeah.
they asked Gemini or whatever how to do
it's a
something and just
smart-
copied and pasted.
It's a reasonable junior programmer, but still needs mediation by a senior programmer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
keep that
Just
in
because
mind.
it tells you this is how it's done doesn't mean that's the actual correct code.
It'll never code above you. It might get code that you might be able to determine is correct or incorrect quicker than you could get there. But that's about the best that you're hoping for, is code that you can validate faster than you can type it.
Yeah. It's a starting point. You can start with it and then try and figure out if it actually works or what you need to do to fix it.
And do I believe it'll get better? I don't think so. I think as long as we're in this model, we're probably stuck. I like the idea that they're expanding to agents, where they're having one thing, look at the next thing, look at the next thing, trying different strategies against the same problem, or in parallel with somebody voting on suitability of solution. But again, it's ultimately just all autocompletion. That's all it's really doing. It's picking
It's all
the
ones and zeros, man.
Yeah, it's all ones and zeros. Hey, uh, and I'm an old timer, so I'll keep bringing this story up. The idea of back in the 80s and stuff, we were playing with Markov chains. And what a Markov chain is it would take a body of text by a particular authors or a particular realm of literature, and it would analyze pair frequencies for words. In other words, how often does the word dog follow the word the? And then to generate something, it would just randomly pick, according to relative weights, the word that would follow the. And if dog was only 4% of the time, then it would only go that path 4% of the time. That's what Markov chaining is, and that's really all that's happening in these large language models, except it's 10,000 or 50,000 nodes back.
And it's not just that; it's the weighting is in the weighting spread across many different
strategies like n count and must be greater than a certain threshold.
How many parameters is it using, and how is it? Yeah. So.
But ultimately, that's all it's doing. It's Markov chains, but on steroids. Crazy stuff. Anyway, that's me. I think we answered that to total. Let's see. We got one more question, which Simon can answer if he wants. How to implement
card with dynamic height in horizontal list view.
What do you
mean
dynamic?
So I mean, varying height.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it'd be similar to what we just did, right? I mean, you're going to use a builder and you're going to change the height of your children.
Let's do this. And this view dot builder. Oops. Let's just do placeholder. Right. What do we have here? There's our vertical one, and we can change the
layout.
Direction. Scroll direction is done. It's axis. It's always bugged me. All the parameters are axis.
It's scroll direction, but it's axis. Yeah.
Yeah, there is, because there's actually a scroll direction. Like,
I
submit PR, and then they'll be like, "I can't do it. Need to do deprecation." Like, right.
And then make every third one a different size, and every second one a different size, and.
What should we do? Yeah, we could do So right now the list view is filling the height. This is actually filling the height. Why is that not scrolling? Oh, because it's
because you're yeah.
No, it's not that. It's that epoxy. Actually, didn't we do like a widget for that the other day? Let's put this in here somewhere. Let's see if I can find it.
Mon, we're not taking any more questions today. Please come back in 166 hours.
Doing some live coding instead. How's that?
Yeah.
So there you go. I can drag it left and right now with my mouse. Without it's just because I'm in desktop anyway. So as you can see here, I can drag here and I can drag down here because this entire area here is actually the chart, right? That's the line with the size box and the height. This can vary in height, right? So we could have 200 plus 200 300 times index modulus. Right. There you go. Right.
Yeah.
Does that answer the person's question?
Mr. Soft Dev?
I would think so. I mean, based on the question.
It looks like dynamic height in a horizontal list view. Don't know how much more closer you could get than that.
The implement I mean, the problem here is I think that they're trying to do is vary the height on the outside
by the content.
And
there, we're done.
Yes, it does. Thank you. Okay. But remember, this is the point. That on the outside, let me put this in let me just explain. Like, this is what I think the problem here is. And it happens in vertical and horizontal. I'll explain the issue, and there's a reason why you don't do it. And then you need to be thinking about your layouts, definitely, right? But if I put this in a column, right, I now need to say, if I have some text above it, so I can just call it testing, right? And we put some below it. And now I wrap this in and expand it to give it a height. That'll work, right? Testing, and everything in between is the list view, right? So I wrap the list view area in a placeholder, and we'll just change the color of that so you can see the just see so you can see like where the list view is, right? There's the list view, that red area with the red X, right? So if this not necessarily, you can see here it's not the same height as the largest one. If I scroll upwards, look, it will squish them up, yeah, because the list view is a limited height. So it will vary the height, but what you're not doing is setting the height of the list view to the height of the content. And is that what you're asking? Because that's quite a common question. And this is because to measure the height of the list view, you need to know what the largest height of any one element inside of the list view horizontal scroll is going to be, which basically means you have to build every widget inside your scroll, which is something you probably don't want to do, right? And that's the real problem, right?
Yep.
That's what most people, essentially try forget. Basically, they're trying to do. In which case, you might as well, yeah. You can do that with the scrolling stuff, right? So you can do what's called an intrinsic height on a single chart scroll view, and that would achieve the same thing. So let's do that here as an example for you, okay? There's very little use for this. If you're doing your layouts correctly, you should not be doing this, right? And I just want to express that enough. If you've got like a lot or an undetermined number of items, right? Let's say the number of items is because you're getting data back from a server. You might get 2,000 items back, and then suddenly now you're laying out 2,000 widgets, right? You don't want to be doing that. It's extreme, but still, even more than what you see on the screen is too much, right? So what you probably want to be, what you're probably trying to do is having this be the height of the maximum one. So let's reduce these down just so that we're, yeah. So if I show this height, we actually want the list view to be this high, right? The tallest item. So what we can do here is replace our builder mechanism and list view with something else. Oops, too many brackets. So we'll have a single child scroll view. It's going to have a row, and its children are going to be based off of this, and we're going to obviously simulate how many items we have. What to do? And let's just rename that to index. That's what it is. Right. So what we're going to now do is run this, and that's apparently what it looks like. That's because I've got to set the scroll direction on here. It's horizontal. Right. So there you go. Same thing, right? Same thing. We haven't actually changed it. But now what we're doing is we're actually building and laying out all 42 widgets, right? But we still haven't got that lovely cross axis. And then that's achieved by doing something a little bit more wacky. How did I do this before? Hang on, I just lost. Well, first of all, this needs to be the intrinsic height, which is fine. So that's what we got there. That's good. And then our I don't think we can get rid of the. We can get rid of the expand. There you go. There you go. So now it will. You can't do intrinsic height. You can't do intrinsic width because that's based on the contents. Because that's the unbound. It's an unconstrained width because this is horizontal. If this was the other way around, it'd be the same problem with the vertical, right? But this works if you've got a fixed number of items. That could be what you want, right? Where you've got the height. If I change the height, obviously, of this, then he says, "Hello." I don't think that's working the way we expect.
This is the thing you built a year ago.
Oh, it's because no.
Okay, maybe not.
Huh? Sorry.
I thought this was the thing you built a year ago. Maybe.
Could be.
Quite possibly. I did. Right. I built. I've checked my gist, right? Yeah. It was actually. This definitely isn't. See, they're getting bigger, but they're not making the height bigger than they should be. Dun dun dun. Right. Let's figure this out.
I'm gonna have to let you figure it out because I have to run for a meeting.
Good seeing you again.
To see you.
All right, good to see you. See you guys in a week, if not before. Well, actually, next week. Are you traveling? You're going to be probably traveling, right, Simon?
Yeah.
We'll have to figure out if we're doing a show next week or not.
Yeah, I don't even know what time zones and things. We'll have to figure that out. But just because I'm not here doesn't mean you guys can't do a show.
It's true. Or we could do it live from New York. It's Saturday night. Wednesday. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
See you guys
then. Yeah. Right. I feel like I want to solve this now because this is going to bug me. I knew there was a bit more to this. Right.
You said time zone and my ears perked up. It's always, I get triggered by time zones.
Why? This seems like it should work when it's not.
Jasper had a commit an hour ago. After he was on this show, he's already committed another release.
We're getting a fixed size. That's just, I don't know where it's coming from. It's quite interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Don't normally see that kind of behavior in a major appliance.
That is... Where's the cross access coming from? Well, what do you know? Something's going on. Let's have a look. So we could peek into the inspector. Let me do it. Goodness me. Right. Single child scroll view. What are we getting? Height 400. What? 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 Testing? Height is unconstrained. Height is unconstrained. Oh, this is what it measured to. Sorry, ignore me. The constraint is unconstrained. The height it measured to is 400. Right. Oh, there you go. Sorry, I missed that. Yeah, so there. Yeah, but this is what I'm trying to say. It's saying the maximum height the scroll view can be is 400. Is that the placeholder doing that? Let's remove the placeholder. Oh, it was. What? Placeholder should not do that. How is placeholder affecting the size? Oh, look. Fallback width and fallback height.
What?
What do you know? It does do that by design. Okay. Well, we're not doing... That wasn't what I was expecting, but okay, there you go. So, all right, that's good to know. Right, so if we remove... Let's change this for a container. Just so that we can see the color. Maybe not that color. Let's do...
Yeah.
Let's do gray. And a really, really dark gray. There you go. So, all right, so there you go. So now that's actually using the maximum widget height. Perfect. So if I make this smaller now, there you go. Perfect. It is working as expected. So yeah, so let's get rid of that. The single child scroll view, row, align, size box. We're setting sizes. And there you go. But the thing is, again, like you can only do this if you know how many widgets you're going to have, and you understand the fact that you're going to be having to build all those widgets to measure the height to then work out what the maximum height can be. And that's why it's a bit dodgy. You don't really want to do that. Okay. This is one of the things that, again, it comes from like you see this thing. So like a good example of this is scroll bars, right? When you have scroll bars and you scroll, and the actual scroll bar height changes as you scroll. I don't know if anyone's seen that. It happens. And that's because as you scroll, it measures new content and works out, oh, there's actually more size or less size to the content now.
Right.
And the only way a scroll bar stays fixed, like you do in your editor, is because you know how much content there actually is. In this case, you can measure that based on, in this case, like in the editor, it's based on lines, right? So you know how many lines there are, how tall each line is, therefore how many pixels they're going to be. Your scroll bar is now going to be a fixed height because it doesn't change as you scroll, right? That's one of the reasons why List View Builder and a few of the others have the have the parameter for what's it called? Placeholder. The placeholder, something like that. Not placeholder. Prototype. That's what prototype item does. So what prototype item parameter does is let you populate what an item will be, and then it will measure that and use that as the extent and the height for the items. This gives you a way of giving like a median height and allowing there's a foreknowledge of positioning and stuff, right? To help. Hope that helps. Right. Where are we at? Is that the last thing?
I think we're down to nothing again. Let me see. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything.
So seeing some of the questions is like, no, we're not doing that.
I mean, you could answer about Signal, but do you know a lot about Signal? I don't know a lot about Signal.
What about what?
Could you please could you please let us know about Signal?
No, nothing about it.
Yeah. That's letting you know. What we know is we don't know.
It was a come from the React signal, right? So if you like the React signal stuff and you know it, use that package.
Yeah,
they're all the same. All it is notifying you that data has changed. You're making your state management is like
you need three things. You need a well-known name to locate it. You need to be able to get the current value, and you need to be able to be notified when the value changes. Every state management system has those three things. They do it different ways. They have different syntax. They have different restrictions, different ways of wiring up things, different optimizations for different strategies. But ultimately, it's those three things. Every single state management package talks about that. So that's my little rant on state management's really all.
Yeah, I mean, pick the one you like and go with it. That's what we always say.
It's how to make observable data. Yeah. Oh yeah, we're done. That's it. We can go. I can go get lunch. That'll be cool.
Right. Thank you all for joining us. And we'll see you same time, same place next week. Get your questions ready.
Maybe next week. Maybe next week.
Yeah, maybe next week. We'll see.
Watch the skies.
Yes. All right, everyone. See you then. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.